Great job. Man, we're crowded in here, aren't we? Thank you all very much for coming. And let me first send personal good wishes for my wife, Elizabeth, who's doing just terrific. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. We had a great Thanksgiving. I hope all of you did. We got to spend the day decorating the Christmas tree after Thanksgiving because I'm not sure when I'll be back. I had to do my work when I was there. But I'm very happy to be with all of you. You know, about 6 weeks from now, New Hampshire voters, what with the rest of the world watching, will have to make a decision about what kind of president you want. And you should be asking yourselves, what have you learned up to now, and what will you learn between now and the New Hampshire primary about the character of the people who are actually running for president? And what is it that you need in the character of the next president? How does the character of each of the candidates match with what America needs at this point in our country's history? Because the America and the world will be watching New Hampshire to see what you decide. I mean, do you want a president who believes in compromise, or do you want a president who actually has conviction? Do you want a president who wants to go along to get along, or do you want a president who'll stand up and fight for you? Somebody who'll show some backbone and strength. You can clap for that, it's fine. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what's at stake in this election. And my own view about it is that what's happened in Washington is the few are controlling this democracy for the many. It's just pretty much that simple. It means powerful, moneyed interests, the wealthiest Americans, and big multinational corporations have now taken control. And they've taken the democracy out of your hands. It's pretty much that simple. And it shows in absolutely everything that occurs. I mean, the examples are so rampant. I mean, from Blackwater and their paid mercenaries roaming around lawless in Iraq, to Halliburton getting no-bid contracts, to this mess of a Medicare prescription drug law that was passed years ago, that was literally written by drug company lobbyists. I mean, why don't we have universal health care, which I believe we desperately need in this country? We don't have universal health care because of drug companies, insurance companies, and their lobbyists in Washington, D.C. Why do we have bad trade laws in America? Because big multinational corporations are for them. Trade laws like NAFTA and CAFTA that have cost us millions of American jobs. I mean, look at what happened in 1993. Here's what happened in 1993. We had a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate. And we tried to get universal health care, to the credit of President Clinton and Senator Clinton, who worked on it. Tried to get universal health care, but it was killed by drug companies, insurance companies, and their lobbyists. So, the big corporations, they got what they wanted. And then there was an effort made to pass NAFTA. And the big corporations were for NAFTA. They wanted to see NAFTA passed. So, we got NAFTA. The bottom line is, the big corporations were against universal health care, we didn't get it. They were for NAFTA, we did get it. America got something it didn't need, NAFTA, and didn't get something it desperately needed, which is universal health care. And this is my point. If those of you who know this, and many of you do, I'm sure, the way these big lobbying firms in Washington work, if you're ExxonMobil, you go into Washington, you hire a big lobbying firm, half the lobbyists are Republicans, half of them are Democrats. So what happens is, when the Republicans are in power, the Republican lobbyists take the lead, and they're spreading this corporate money around. And when the Democrats are in power, the Democratic lobbyists take the lead. They're working for the same company. They're pushing exactly the same agenda. There is no difference. And this is what I mean when I say, does anybody really believe if we trade a crowd of corporate Republicans for corporate Democrats that there's going to be big change in Washington? It's a lie. It is not the truth. It will not happen. We have to actually take this democracy back. We have to get the power in this government back in the hands of the many, not the few. And to their credit, the founding fathers of this country understood this problem. They did. Jefferson, Madison spoke about it, wrote to each other about it. They knew that times like this could come, when people who had the most money and the most power would try to hijack the democracy against the interest of most of the American people.